To conclude what has been a stellar day of learning, I'd like to introduce our final panel of the day. Our moderator for this panel will be Dr. Richard Rhodes. Dr. Rhodes currently serves as president of Texas A&M Central Texas. Before joining TAMU CT, he retired for Austin Community College District, where he served as chancellor for 12 years. Working to improve pathways into higher education, strengthen the awareness of the community college mission, and give students the tools to accomplish their goals. Before joining ACC, he served as president of El Paso Community College for 10 years and vice president for business services at Salt Lake Community College for 7 years. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Richard Rhodes and our final panel of the day, our students.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. You are in for a treat this afternoon. I've had the opportunity to share some time with this incredible panel, and you know, they are inspirational, and they provide hope for the future, and that's what this conversation is going to be about. Look at them, and you will see hope for the future. That's what we're talking about. So let me introduce our panelists, and they have bright smiles on them too. So I'm going to start with and say, panelist number one, Emma Demchak. Emma is a student at the Rellis campus under Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, where she is currently a junior. She enjoys music, arts, and crafts, and photography, and these hobbies have led her to seek a career in marketing. So let me tell you one thing about Emma that's not written on here for me, but I found out that she just got an internship with Texas A&M University to work with the Texas A&M University Athletic Department. So, congratulations. And also might note that her parents are in the front row here. So she's excited. And she's great. She's a great student. Our second panelist is Isaiah Johnson. Isaiah is pursuing a degree in architecture and construction science at Prairie View A&M University. He aims to become an architect who crafts innovative and welcoming spaces that everyone can enjoy. He believes that architecture should transcend barriers, and just as buildings can be inclusive, my designs should also reflect a commitment to creating environments where everyone feels valued and at home. I also have to tell you about Isaiah. He is a self-confessed Lego maniac. Which will really come in handy as an architect. But he's also, interesting thing about Isaiah, he's working with a company called Auto Arch in Houston, and they are in the process of building a senior center. So congratulations, Isaiah. Our third panelist is Nicole Quintero. Nicole graduated from Texas Academy of Biomedical Sciences in 2021, where she earned an Associate of Arts PTCB certification and a high school diploma. During her time at the Academy, she developed a strong foundation in the biological sciences, which sparked her passion for healthcare. Continuing her education, Nicole attended the University of North Texas, where she completed her Bachelor of Arts in Biology with a major in chemistry. In 2023, she's a graduate. She plans to pursue further education in medicine and public health, aspiring to transform the healthcare landscape by educating the public on how medicine can serve as a preventive measure. And also found out something unique about her. So Nicole graduated at the age of 19 with her bachelor's degree, which is the same age that her mother graduated from high school. Congratulations. She also told me that her mother used to drag her around to all of the LULAC meetings.
Yes.
And so she has become a fan of LULAC. Our fourth panelist is Elias Ramirez. He's a first-generation Mexican-American. Elias is currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in public service leadership at the University of Houston, Clear Lake. After graduating in spring 2025, his plans include furthering his education with a master's degree in public administration and obtaining his law degree. In addition to his studies, Elias serves as a program coordinator at the Galveston County Food Bank, an emerging leader board member with the Texas Network of Youth Services, and an alumnus of the Texas PACE Student Advisory Council, and he chairs the Community Development Block Grant Citizens Advisory Committee and the Keep Texas City Beautiful Committee. One thing that I learned about Elias is he ran for the Board of Trustees for College of the Mainland. He has taken public service very strictly, and he's going to be I think he said he's going to be the next city council member. So, congratulations, Elias.
Thank you.
He also told me that he's very active in LULAC and Haku. So, and our last panelist is Luke Schwartz. Luke is currently a second-year medical student at the University of Texas at Tyler School of Medicine. He is also currently pursuing an executive master's of business degree with an emphasis in healthcare management through the Sewell's College of Business at UTT. Additionally, he holds a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition from Texas A&M University and an Associate of Science in Biology from Tyler Junior College. Luke is also serving as the student representative to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. One thing that I found from Luke is the fact that he was a medic in the Air Force for 6 years. So he went straight from high school into the Air Force. He was a medic. And one of the areas that he got to go to was the Arctic Circle. How many people have had the opportunity to go to the Arctic Circle? And when you look at Luke, you would say, how is that possible? He graduated from high school. He spent 6 years in the Air Force, and now he's in college and graduated from college. He must have joined the Air Force when he was about 10 years old. So, great panel. And it is, we are going to talk about what the future is. So I've got some questions for them, and we're going to go through these. Unfortunately, there was an article that was written this summer based on some research done by the Gallup and Lumina Foundation, and it really said that 36% of adults say they have a great deal or quite a lot of lack of confidence in higher education. And that decline, so 36% have confidence in higher education, and that declined from 57% just 9 years ago. So my question to our panelists was, they have taken education seriously, and they wouldn't be here if they didn't believe that it is in their best interest, in the best interest of our state and our country, for them to get the higher education experience. So based on that research that came out and the lack of confidence in higher education, what would you tell individuals who are in high school or about to graduate the value of higher education? So Emma, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I would say the value of higher education comes from a lot of higher up jobs are now requiring students to have some form of degree other than the high school diploma. It's helped me a lot also network between going to classes, meeting new people in my classes. My professors also offer me many networking opportunities. They have, after completing their classes, they'll give me their LinkedIns, they'll give me their emails to keep contact with them in the future if I ever have any questions. When it comes to the higher education, it's always a concern. Well, I don't necessarily need it. I understand where that can come from, but even to the point of trades, it's about you need experience to get a job. And if you don't have that experience, you can't get a job. And it kind of comes from taking your college classes, getting internships through your college. And I believe that that's the way that higher education most helps our students today.
Great. Networking is important, but also getting the right skill sets for the future and for your future pathway. So what do you think, Isaiah?
Well, like Emma was saying, like, networking is huge, and it's something very important for everybody to learn how to do in order to get a job in the future or just meeting people as well. Networking is how I was able to get with the Auto Arch company and work to making the Mission Bend Senior Center that will be starting construction next May. And it helped me understand that networking, going to college, gaining new experiences is really huge, especially with students. Not just whenever you grow up and become an adult, you start early. You started even in high school, making friends in high school, going to your teachers, and whenever you go to college, it's that, but it's much more. It's much more important in order to experience those things that higher education can bring. And I know I'm saying the word experience a lot, but really everything comes from the experience that you gain from going through higher education.
And Nicole?
If anyone ever asked me, was college worth it? I would always say yes, especially because I am going and plan to go into healthcare. However, I do know that there are some fields that may not require a bachelor's degree or anything higher than a high school diploma. However, I always do push at least a community college so you can get at least something if it's a foothold in having an associate's degree rather than a high school diploma. At least you have that over another applicant. And just getting an associate's degree through your community college, you save your money, same material rather than your first 2 years at a four-year college. And it gives you the flexibility. I know for me, my parents really did support me and pushed education, but I know not many parents do that. And I feel if you go to a high school and you don't think 4 years is something you can do, the flexibility of going to a community college is at least worth it. It's a little bit more affordable. You can do part-time, or you can figure out if that's even something you want to do. Maybe you want to look into a trade, a licensing, or a certification. But I believe anything more than a high school diploma will only put you further into your career.
Great. And Elias?
Yeah, for sure. Again, just kind of to highlight everything that everybody said, it's very important. I've had a lot of conversations recently, and a lot of my friends or family ask me, "Hey, you're already going off doing your bachelor's degree. Is it worth it?" And I told them, honestly, it's what you make of it. I could never imagine myself even sitting in front of all of y'all in Austin, in our state's capital, sharing my experience as a student if I did not go into higher education. And I also tell them, go ahead and try that community college aspect. You might not like it and you might not, but go ahead and try. And also, don't limit yourself on just getting an associate's degree, a bachelor's or a master's. There's trades, there's certifications, there's apprenticeship programs that let you actually live real life skills, which you can use in the real world. And now we see our state focusing more on those trades and certifications, and you can get them done within less than a year and off already going and making a good salary. Also, another thing, you can go into tech, which is kind of what our nation's upcoming boom is now. With the rise of AI as well, there's untapped industries in those specific topics that people can go in and only going for school for 9 months and making $70,000-$80,000 a year. So that's my pitch to them. Go ahead and try. If you don't like it, that's okay. And try to discover those trades and certifications. And now there's scholarships money to go for it as well.
Great. And Luke?
It's difficult being at the end of the panel because I feel like all the good answers were already taken. But the short answer is there value in secondary education? I think everyone in this room would know that it's a resounding yes. The amount of doors that it's opened for me is absurd. I've had the opportunity this year for the past 7 months to sit on the higher education coordinating board and work with them addressing all of the issues that I've struggled with as I pursued my higher education. And that in itself, along with the networking that they brought up that happens outside of the classroom, I think whenever we think about the value of post-secondary higher education, everyone automatically goes to the end result of degrees, certifications, return on investment, salaries. But there's so much value along the way that I feel like kind of gets lost. And so I would say some of the best value is in that.
Awesome. You know, if they act relaxed, it is because I found out all of them have finished their finals. So, yeah. And I think they passed. So, Luke, I don't want you to be last now. So I'm going to ask you the next question first, and that is, you know, sometimes one of the issues is navigating and understanding how to navigate higher education, the college experience, and into it. So what were some of the challenges that maybe you faced coming back to college out of the Air Force?
Absolutely, yeah. So higher education's hard. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone either. And some of the biggest challenges I faced was I've kind of gone through the higher education system at every level, from the certifications as an EMT to an associate's degree to a bachelor's to a master's to a professional degree. And along every step of the way, there's hoops to jump through. And I think if you've been in the room throughout the day today, we're doing a lot in the state of Texas to address those hoops, and we're making huge strides on getting there. But they're still there, and those are really difficult, and those can be very disheartening as you're going through the process and get just kind of tiring to go through. So as a transfer student going from the junior college to a 4-year institution, some of the biggest barriers that I faced was I took a lot of classes that I paid a lot of money for that ended up not counting towards my secondary or towards my total degree plan. So one, that was just disheartening. Two, that was a lot of money I could have spent on fun activities in college. And so between barriers like that and then just the actual difficulty of educational programs for students that don't come from a background of educated families or families who have gone through the process, there's so much administrative things that you kind of have to learn on your own. And in one of the previous panels, they talked about freshman orientations and transfer orientations. And those are great resources, yes. But we do kind of have a tendency to just overload them to the point where there's so much that there's just not a feasible way to take away what you need to in order to get enrolled into classes, to get the ball rolling. And so those are kind of some of the struggles that I faced the majority of the time as I continued to progress throughout the system.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just in time information.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So, okay. Elias.
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, it's kind of no secret. Dr. Rhodes mentioned it. I'm first generation. My mom and dad, well, my mom went only up until 6th grade, and my dad only had a 2nd grade education. After that, they had to go out into the fields in Mexico to go and work to make a living. And I am the first in my family to finally complete my bachelor's. I graduate next spring. And all of my, thank you. It wasn't me. It was just me. And my siblings all have their associate's degree. But it's been hard. I recently had a conversation with my mom, and I'm like, "Hey, Mom, do you ever think that I was gonna get to where I am today?" And she was like, "Honestly, I thought you were just gonna get your diploma and be done." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, look how I came out, right?" And some of the things that, you know, it's not kind of talked about is the process of actually enrolling, and finding a good advisor to find you those good classes and not have an error, kind of how Luke experienced. I've been privileged to have a program called Trio. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar. And they helped me through thick, through thin, through finals, through midterms, through the beginning. And I also transitioned to the University of Houston Clear Lake, and that was a whole nother hurdle. I'll show you a story. I actually did not know that my degree was an online degree program until I sat down and enrolled for my classes. I was talking to my advisor, and he was like, "Okay, great. All your classes are online." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I thought I was in person." And they're like, "No, your degree is only online." And at that point, I already got my financial aid. Everything was done at the University of Houston Clear Lake. And I was like, "Is it too late to transfer to main campus?" They're like, "Classes start in about 3 weeks." And I was like, "Okay, Well, now I know in the future to let my peers know that, hey, make sure if you're wanting to take an in-person, a hybrid, or an online degree to just check the degree requirement. But there's not kind of resources to help out during that transition period. I mean, there are programs such as like TRIO, and I know independent community college do help with that transition sometimes. But that was one of the main hurdles. Another thing for me is funding. My parents didn't have a savings account. They were just like, all right, if you want to go ahead and do it, that's all on you. And I'm like, okay, well, I got 3 jobs, and I tried working as much as I can to pay for my education. But thanks to the Texas Grant financial aid and independent endowments, I was able to get my associate's degree, and now up until my second to last semester at bachelor's without any student loans. So.
Great. Nicole.
For me, some of the hurdles kind of started a little earlier. I went to Texas Academy of Biomedical Sciences, so I started my college journey when I was a freshman, when I was 14 years old, and that was already kind of a wow. I didn't know this. I just came from 8th grade. And so, however, I will say that my advisors, I really do truly appreciate every single one of them. I loved how my high school really did try to kind of soften the transition, which I feel like I was a little babied into it because when it came from high school to college, I was like, okay, where's the softening? But it didn't come. And however, I will say that was very difficult for me, and no one in my family could help me understand what that was. My oldest sister, she went to a regular homeschool locally. My middle sister, she went to an alternative school, and I was the only one to be STEM based, and they couldn't help me on with my homework, and it was very difficult at first. However, just being surrounded by like-minded people, my classmates, and a lot of my professors, teachers, high school teachers, they really helped me with that. And I feel as though whenever I graduated and I went to UNT, I was expecting a little bit of that. However, I didn't have that same thing. I had the freshman orientation, which was a lot, just like how Luke was saying. And I wish there was a little bit more of a specific early college to regular college, 4-year college transition to really help us, because for me, I had learned about a lot of programs the first semester of freshman year. However, I quickly realized that I didn't qualify for them because I already had my associates. So I was a freshman in junior classification. So there was a program I wanted to be in, JAMP, and it was practically guaranteed medical school acceptance if you are in this program for 2 years, and they give you scholarships, MCAT prep, and it was for low income people, which is myself. And then I realized I had to apply practically the junior year into senior year of high school, and my high school didn't know of that. That was a little bit of a bummer. I thought that was, oh my God, this is perfect for me. This is perfect. But, instead of dwelling, I just told my high school, I said, hey guys, I know a lot of the students here want to go into medicine. Can we let them know a little sooner? So even though it may not apply to me, I know some other students have applied and they're in the program. So yeah, I just think a little bit of a knowledge for us little specific knit group would have been a little bit nicer, but still, I'm not going to complain. I did earn my associates funded through Fort Worth ISD, and I did save 2 years of college. Yes.
That's affordable education, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Isaiah.
Like Nicole was saying, the the hurdle started for me whenever I was in high school. I did dual credit my sophomore, junior, and senior year, where I would go to a college campus and take a few classes that would help me and make things easier for whenever I went off to college. But the transition from going from high school college classes to actual college classes are completely different things, especially since the classes that I went for in high school didn't really pertain to my degree. I got there, sat down with my advisor, and asked, like, what classes do I not need to take anymore? And they're like, oh no, you still have to take like all of them. And I was like, oh, thanks. It was a tough experience, not just transitioning from high school to college, but also being away from my family. Because I'm a huge family person. Like even though I'm the second oldest, I am still considered the baby because I love like being with my family and being at home all the time. But as I got to college, I realized like I needed to step up and take responsibility because they weren't going to be there to coddle me. My professors weren't going to make me do my assignments. I had to do that myself. And it wasn't just for me. I also did it for my siblings because I wanted to be an example for them in order to show them that, like the first question, that higher education is worth it. I also struggled with funding. Funding for college was a huge thing because I have four brothers, so my parents didn't have the money to fund for college. But I'm thankful for the Texas Leadership Scholars Program that I received, and it gives me a full ride to my university, and I'm so thankful for that. Not only that, it also helps me currently with securing my internship for this upcoming summer so that I can keep pursuing my degree in architecture and construction science as well. If there's anything that I'd say about overcoming those hurdles, it would be to take the responsibility to make sure that you have everything situated because your advisors aren't going to make you show up and schedule your classes. You aren't going to be forced to apply for scholarships to help you pay for those classes. You have to step up and do those things yourself.
Great. Emma?
So, one of the good things about having an older sibling was they had just gone through the application process just a year or two before me. So, it wasn't necessarily the application process that I had any issues with. Unlike my fellow panelists, I had trouble finding financial aid. I applied to FAFSA as well as county aid and other things around and was unable to come across any kind of aid to help me and my family pay for my college. Thankfully, the school that I'm at isn't as expensive as some of the higher end schools, but it still was a concern that was never fixed. And I really don't necessarily have any bright sides of that because I have applied to FAFSA on the occasion every year and still have not received anything. And I think that having somebody, as me and my brother being first gen students, my parents have no idea what any of the financial things are. Going through that was a whole process for all of us. And having somebody to help us gain that knowledge and help us through the process is really what I think a lot of students need. And that's the main problem that I've had. I've not really had any issues with schooling. I did dual credit, you know, as everyone does, and I did that junior year, I did that senior year, and kind of flowed easily into college, but it was mainly primarily the aid that I had issues
Financial.
With. Yes.
Yeah. You know, transitions, what you hear from the panelists is transitions, you know, whether it's from workforce into higher ed or whether it's directly from high school into higher ed, or if it's through early college, high school, and into, or dual credit into traditional college classes on a college campus, those transitions can be very difficult in understanding the navigation part of that. I want to turn it just a little bit now and say, okay, there were some of the challenges that you faced. Think back about your time now in college and think about, you know, what is one incredibly positive, memorable experience that you've had in college. And this time I'll start with Elias.
Okay. I'm sorry. I got distracted. I think I know one of the participants. Is that Dr. Davis? Guys, this man right here. I'm sorry. He was my public speaking teacher. I just wanted to give him a shout out. Thank you, thank you. That totally caught me off guard. Anywho, to kind of wrap things back up, some of the challenges that I faced
Did a great job.
was not knowing kind of what I was getting into. Kind of how I mentioned, I'm the first in my family to go on and pursue an undergraduate degree. I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't know who to talk to. If I had any problems with my professors, I didn't even know who to go to. The financial aid portal, as y'all know, it kind of changed this past year. I didn't have anybody to talk to be like, hey, the financial aid portal changed. What do I do? How do we deem the income? How do you log into the IRS tool? It was really weird. That and my parents' tax forms was a little weird, since my dad owned his own landscaping company, and just reporting that to the financial aid was just a whole blurb. And I didn't have anybody in my family to look up to be like, hey, how do I turn this in? That and going through the actual curriculum. Sometimes I would have to ask my friends, how do you cite a paper? And of course, you can use Google and things like that, but I'm more of a hands-on person, so I didn't really know how to go about things. That and choosing classes. For at UHCL, it was a little weird. I didn't know how to use the portal, and I accidentally one semester, it was this previous spring semester, I registered for too many classes. I did 8 instead of 4. Why did they let me do that? I don't know. But it's not until I got my bill and I was like, this is totally wrong. Now I owed $4,000 into the UHCL. I was able to get it fixed. But if I had somebody in my family or amongst my peers to ask, hey, how do I go about registering for classes? That was a challenge that I would be able to go through. Another thing is I get really bad imposter syndrome. I don't value kind of like where I am today, and kind of to bring it back, I still don't realize that I'm here talking amongst y'all, the higher administrators, and the whole state of Texas. I'm a undergraduate student at the University of Houston Clear Lake, and my parents, not even 30 years ago, were in Mexico working in industrial plants, sewing clothes together. And that's kind of really getting adjusted and acclimated into environments and different rooms that I'm supposed to be in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Luke, tell us about a positive, memorable experience that you've had thus far.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of obligated to say being on the higher education coordinating board, otherwise that'd be a pretty bad look. But in all honesty, that has been a phenomenal, phenomenal experience for me. Like I said, I've been doing it for about 7 months now. And as I kind of talked about in the last question, as I was going through my higher ed journey, I ran into a lot of problems. And having the opportunity to come back and play a role in addressing those problems has been just amazing. On top of that, if you wanted a non-pro mode answer, being able to go back to the community I grew up in to practice medicine has been a really, really unique and rewarding opportunity. So if any of you have ever been to Tyler, Tyler's kind of like the medical hub for a surrounding like 20 county area that just doesn't have medical care. And so we're a really underprivileged area medically. And so getting to go back and play a role in kind of addressing those health disparities has been incredibly rewarding.
Okay. Hey, how about you, Nicole?
I think for me, the most memorable was during the transition from junior to senior year in high school. It was very difficult because I was basically a college student at that point. And on top of that, I had to make sure I got into a 4-year college. And so it was very stressful, and I thought that it was never going to end. And I really loved how my school district for juniors, if you have a certain GPA, they had a whole little ceremony to congratulate us, to be like, you're almost done, but keep going. And so it really gave me that extra push to keep going, even though they just gave us a sweatshirt that had our little initials and our school. I still wear it to this day because it always just brings back really good memories. Having all my family around me to support me, them knowing, hearing how much I was complaining about classes, saying, oh my gosh, why did I do this to myself? I should have just gone to a normal school. It really was the start of what I am now. And just looking back at that one little sweatshirt always brings back a little bit of hope. It just keeps me going.
Awesome. Emma.
Okay, I would probably say like the best, most memorable thing that I've had is my networking experiences. I mean, coming here today is a fantastic opportunity for my career, as well as getting my job at the university with the athletic marketing department. I'm quite excited about that. My goal in life is to be an event marketer for a sports team, and getting this opportunity has, I mean, shot me way forward, and it's quite exciting. I've met some good people already, and I've got another year and a half to be working there and meeting more people from the A&M athletics department to other schools, coaches, and their athletics department. So I'm in for a real treat coming up with all of my networking throughout the job.
So, any sports team that you could be the marketer for, what sports team would that be?
Well, I really would like to get into the motorsports industry, NASCAR, F1. I love traveling, and that they go all over the world. So that's my number one at the moment. But as for sports industry, if I can't get into motorsports, it'd probably be football or baseball. I'm an Astros fan.
Astros fans. Okay.
So that's my, if I were able to get something with baseball, but I'm not really particular on a football team. I just like the sport.
Okay. Okay. Isaiah.
Geez, I feel like I'm going to be combining all three answers that I'm just. Well, firstly, I would like to be thankful for TLS. It was a really huge help for me, not just with my financial situation whenever I first got to college, but it also led me to have a lot of networking opportunities. Like just this year alone, within the last 6 months, I've gone up and spoken to people for panels, sorry, for panels, for conferences, for the last 6 months, and I'm still not good at speaking, but I'm getting better. It's been a really good opportunity because I've met a lot of great people, not just from my own school for TLS, but across many different colleges. I've met people from UT, met people from Tyler, I've met people from U of H, from Rice, all of their TLS programs, and it also led me to go on my study abroad trip in Costa Rica. So I'm really thankful for TLS, and going even further beyond that, I'm thankful for my high school coach because he is the person who wrote my letter of recommendation for TLS, which I had no knowledge of at the time. I got the letter 2 weeks before I went off to college, and I'm thankful for him for even giving me this opportunity, or else I wouldn't be here today.
Great. Great. So, the next question, and I'm going to start with Nicole, is where do you want to be 10 years from now? And how does your higher ed experience fit into that?
Well, in about 10 years, hopefully I would be a practicing pediatrician, networking, serving my community. I will say with my education, it's shaved off, even though it's a lengthy career. A lot of education goes to medical school residencies and such. It shaved about 2, 3 years off, but I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm appreciative of that. But I really do feel as though medicine is a great avenue to help people. For me, my family, it's always pulling teeth to get them to go to the doctor. They're more of they don't believe in preventative, they believe in reactive care. And I feel like a lot of people in my community, Hispanic community, they believe of, you drink this tea, it cures cancer. And, it's just education to the community, to everyone, to let them know, hey, to live to this certain age, you need to go in to the doctor once a year, do your physicals, do all these things. And I feel as though, language barrier is also a thing about that. I know from my grandmother, she would pull me out of middle school to take me with her to her doctor's appointments. So I could translate the paperwork for her and to tell her, hey, don't worry about this. They're just getting your blood pressure. It's not going to cause anything. So I just feel as though in healthcare, I'm able to help people, and specifically people like me. And I feel as though it's the best avenue, and the only way to get to that avenue is through higher education. So, yes.
Great. How about you, Luke? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? Back in the Arctic Circle?
No. That was a great one-time experience. Much like Nicole, being in medicine, it is a very long road in education. So what I'm hoping to finally be ramping down my journey as a student in education. But I've really come to love higher education in the last few years. And being able to be a part of the coordinating board has really shown me insight into the higher level aspect of education. And so I'm thinking now I want to pursue a residency in emergency medicine. And then after that, I think I want to get into academic medicine and either teach or maybe one day work up to being the dean of an academic institution.
Great. Emma?
I think I kind of already said.
You want to be with the Houston Astros.
Yeah, I have grown to really love my degree. I was able to get a little taste of it in high school, and that's kind of what led me to where I am today. And as for getting into the sports industry, I'm a very personal person. I love talking, and I just love how being in an environment where everybody's just so excited all the time about their specific thing, and I feel like it'll be a good fit for me. I really do hope that I can end up in the motorsports industry because I really want to travel. That's one of my bucket list things per se, is to travel, and working with NASCAR or Formula One would take me all over the world.
Great. Have you been to the F1 here in Austin?
I haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
I really want to.
If anybody has tickets to the F1. Isaiah.
Well, much like what Dr. Rhodes was saying whenever we first started, I am a Lego maniac. So I've known that I've wanted to do architecture since I was really young. One thing that I really look forward to in the next 10 years is to, I wouldn't say own my own architecture firm, but have my own department, because I'm really looking forward to helping those in need who don't have affordable homes. Because whenever I was younger and I lived with my grandparents in Maryland, there was a homeless man I knew who we called Squirrel, and he didn't have a place to stay. We'd invite him over all the time for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, whatever we could to get him out of the cold. And I realized that he didn't have anywhere to stay, because at a young age I just thought he would always just be over there just to be over there. But as I got older, it made me realize that he just didn't have anywhere to go. He would always be out there on the street with his little shopping cart carrying all his stuff. And it made me realize that the degree that I'm pursuing can help with that. So I'm pushing myself further to not only get my bachelor's, but to pursue my master's degree so that I can do more for the community, not just here in Texas, but all over the United States and maybe even all over the world if possible, and help with homelessness crisis.
Great. Elias.
Yeah. As you all may know, I'm pursuing my degree in public administration and nonprofit management. Some of the work that I've been able to do with the Texas PACE Student Advisory Council, this past year we worked on House Bill 8, which I don't have to tell y'all know. But I kind of want to expand upon that in the future and continue advocacy, especially for communities of minority. A couple months back, I recently founded the Hispanic Business Network of Galveston County, and I'm just recruited my board of directors to make the first Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in Galveston County, and we will debut hopefully in January. And in 10 years, I hope to grow that into a prosperous organization organization to provide equity capital for Hispanic businesses, specifically in Galveston County. I'm also wanting to do a dual degree program, both for my master's and my JD in public administration, and hopefully go into either immigration or civil rights law. And politically, as y'all know, I hope to eventually run for county commissioner. I am eyeing city council in this next coming year, and I serve on several boards and commissions back in Galveston County, and it's kind of building that forefront. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things to look forward in 10 years.
All right, all right. One final question, then we're going to open it up. Put you on the spot. We're going to open it up so somebody can ask from the audience a question that you might not have anticipated. But the last question is, we talked a lot about transition from work or from high school or early college, high school into higher education. What can we do better to prepare you to transition from higher education into the workforce? Let me start with Nicole.
So for me, I graduated from UNT this past December, not this current one. So I am currently now working in a lab as a clinical lab specialist, utilizing my biology degree, and while I'm getting some hours for my medical school application. However, what I noticed was the best way to get from college degree into the workforce was going through LinkedIn, looking at job listings. My sister recommended this because she had graduated the year before. She said, start looking at the job listings and see what they actually require. Because sometimes it's not just a bachelor's degree or anything like that, it's extra, a certification, a license, or a testing. And I actually didn't know that my bachelor's in biology had that many jobs. I didn't know that. And I think throughout UNT, maybe, a guidance counselor, an advisor, or any type of peer could have prepared me a little bit more to say, hey, you have this biology degree. You can really do either two things: a biology teacher, which requires a teaching license, or you go into a laboratory, which also needs a license. So pick one. And I didn't know that. So I had to really use my networking, which thank God I made friends in college. They had gotten a license and they vouched for me at their company, at their laboratory. And luckily that laboratory licenses you as an entry level. So, but I feel as though I could have gotten into a better position if I knew a year before I should also be trying to get a license or try to do X, Y, and Z to have a better chance in getting a career in this.
Great, great. Isaiah.
Personally, I know like architecture, at least from my school, it requires that we at least have some sort of internship or apprenticeship before we go out into the workforce. And I think that's something huge that should be pushed forward more whenever we're in college. Like my school advertises it a lot, but some people don't think it's as important as it should be. And not just internships, because people think that internships is the only thing that you can do. There's different ways that you can go about securing a job. There's networking, like we've mentioned a bunch of times up here on this panel. Networking is huge. And not only that, you can go for an apprenticeship, you can go to job shadowings. There's many different ways that you can go about going out and getting into a real world job. I know for a friend of mine, they have been working at the same company like every summer for an internship, and at the end of their fourth year, they were able to go on and work for that company full time. And now they come back to my school and tell everybody like, hey, apply for my company, apply here, because then it can help you push forward into getting a job whenever you first get out. Because there are also a bunch of different opportunities. Whenever I had a career night for my TLS program, I met with an architect and construction science major who graduated from the same college as me. And he went on to tell me that he didn't pursue anything whenever he was in college. He would just go out, take his classes, go to the college parties, but didn't think about going through any internships or apprenticeships because it wasn't really pushed or promoted as well as it should have. And he spent the next 10 years hopping from job to job, working at McDonald's, working at retail, until he finally landed something and he got to where he is today. So thank God for him because he helped me understand that it's really important to push yourself towards your goals and to meet new people so that they can either help you out in the future or they can help you secure a job in the future as well.
Great. Emma?
Okay, so I would say don't be afraid to ask. When I got this position, it was kind of out of the blue. I had previously messaged the marketing director over the summer saying, hey, are there any positions opening? And he sadly said no, but he offered to have me come in and meet with him and talk with him. And he kind of put me on a short list of, okay, well, if there's something open, we'll put it out to you. And I didn't think about it much back then, but I took a business communications class, and that short list is a little known thing as the closed business market. And when I got that offer, I was on a list of people that are most likely going to get this position. And if I hadn't put myself out there, I wouldn't have even known that there was a job opening because of networking, those jobs fill up quickly. If you know people, you're going to be the first one to be offered the position. And very, very rarely do these types of positions open up to the public because there's either, hey, do you have a recommendation of somebody who might be a good fit for this position? Or you've gone in yourself and made an impression on some higher up person. And never being afraid to go to the head asking, even if they're busy, most of the times they'll make time for you. If you're putting yourself out there, most people will make time in their schedule to have a conversation with you. And that was the biggest thing that kind of put, my schooling and my work life in perspective is I put myself out there. I could have messaged somebody who works at the front desk saying, hey,
Yeah.
is there any applications open? No, sorry. Okay, I moved on, but I went to the head.
You're persistent.
Yes, very. It's not the first time I've done that, actually. I actually did that by accident, like last year for something. But it's turned out very well for me. And not being afraid to ask and put yourself out there is the main thing that you need to be doing.
And this is a paid internship?
It is.
Right. So paid internships are incredibly important. Mm-hmm. So Elias.
Yeah, for sure. I had a conversation with somebody today, in fact, kind of talking about transitioning. She got her bachelor's, she got her master's, and she has been unemployed for the past 4 months. And she's kind of been asking, I worked this hard, I pursued my degree, I did what people told me to do, and yet I can't find a job. And I think kind of what a solution could be is, how you take your freshman seminar? For me, it was called Psychology for Success. But maybe do a transitioning out class, learning how to really refine your resume, how to go on LinkedIn and find those job opportunities, how to scout for recruiters instead of them scouting for you, and really how to make yourself stand out from all the rest of everybody else. Now when you're applying for jobs, they're using algorithms and they have keywords that you have to put into your resume to even be considered. If not, they're going to be flushed out. And from my experience, a lot of my friends and colleagues don't even know that that's happening. And I feel that institutions can, do a little bit better of a job to be like, hey, we're partnering with this Chamber of Commerce. Oh, hey, we're partnering up with this state agency, and we can provide you a direct line to either an apprenticeship, an internship, or a work study, just to kind of get your toes in, and then from there, kind of grow that career output.
Great. And Luke.
Yeah, I would want to tack on to what Isaiah and Elias were talking about. From an institutional standpoint, I think there's a lot of ways that you all could ease that transition for students moving into the workforce. I think one of the things is really emphasizing the integration of the workforce into the educational system. Because I think for so long we've kind of thought as the academic world and the working world as kind of two separate entities, whereas in reality, the academic world is preparing us to go into the working world. And that sounds obvious to say out loud after you say it. But the integration isn't really there in a lot of instances. You know, I hear horror stories from friends or people I talk to all the time about how they just spent $70,000 on a 4-year degree program, and the stuff they were getting trained on was 5, 6, 10 years behind industry standard. Whenever they go into their workforce, they're not having to relearn what they should have been learning in those 4 years. So whether it's through internships and externships or bringing in an integrated partner into the actual designing of the curricula for the program, I think there's a lot of work that could be done there that would really help ease the transition and then also just shorten the on-the-job training time required of new graduates.
All right. We are going to allow the audience, we have about 7 minutes left, and so 1 or 2 questions from the audience. We've got one right here.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Hi, Isaiah. I've heard you. You represented well. Well, you
Thank
all
you.
did, but I have to talk to him. My question for you all is, thank you. My question is, what keeps you up at night? With all this new technology and stuff coming on board, I just want to know from your perspective, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, does it matter?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Prairie View is going to respond to that. So.
One thing that keeps me up at night is like how sorry, like how Luke was saying about being behind on things. Whenever I started my freshman year, I came in knowing a lot of 3D softwares. I knew Inventor, I knew another software, SketchUp. Whenever I first started going into architecture, and then as soon as I got there and I had my first career fair as a freshman, like I would show them my resume and they'd be like, "Oh, this is nice, but we're using like completely different softwares," and it crushed me. It crushed me freshman year. But it helped me realize that kind of like the last question that we just answered about making sure that we are up to date on these things, making sure that we're getting the knowledge from internships or apprenticeships. Like it helps us develop that knowledge so that we know and we stay ahead and we stay in the game with everything. So I think a huge thing for me that I try to not let it keep me up at night is to keep going with everything that I'm learning new softwares, talking to my professors or talking to people who I know who actually work in those current fields and asking what softwares do you use? What things do I need to know before I get started with an internship or before I go out there into the real world? And I think it's a really huge help.
Anybody else want to respond to that question?
I think for me, kind of what I talked about previously is my friend telling me that she went ahead and pursued her bachelor's, her master's, and got in thousands of dollars in debt, only for her to be unemployed for X amount of months. And that's scary. I'm over here, working my butt off and staying up until like 3 a.m. in the morning, trying to crunch that final research paper and trying to keep on top of my grade point average and making good grades. That way I can get into a good graduate school and get financial aid. And now, kind of what keeps me up at night looking at my ceiling while I'm laying down in bed is, am I going to be able to find a job, a prosperous career, going off into the future? I think someone just released some numbers that now, in order to buy a house in the United States, you have to make a median income of 124,000. And am I going to be able to find a job with my bachelor's degree to eventually be a homeowner? And once I do go into graduate and law school, how am I even going to have to pay? How am I going to find means to pay for that education and not worry about missing a payment and then now my credit score is going to get affected and my insurance premium is going to go up, kind of thing. So that's really what creeps me up at night is the fear of the unknown, kind of.
Okay. Any other questions? Right back here.
Hi, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to come talk with us. I'm wondering, have any of you received messaging or heard from faculty on your campuses about your career services offices? Have any of you engaged with them? I think they might help you sleep at night.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, I have heard about our career services department. I haven't gotten a chance to talk with them. I kind of like doing my own research in the field. I go to the top, like I said. But I do know that they're there for helping us, and I feel I might go when I'm in my senior year, my first semester of my senior year, just to kind of touch base with, okay, now that I'm out of school, I'm not going to be able to continue my internship because it's a student worker internship. I'm not going to be able to continue this outside of my bachelor's program, and I'm not 100% sure yet when I'm going to be taking my master's. So where do I go from there? Do I look at the career services? Do I get them to help? Which absolutely, that is 100% an option I'll be taking. But also it's a talking with the people that I've met through my internship and seeing where they can help me in my career as well.
I would say for me, when I was at UNT, I knew that all of these places were available. However, for someone who had to work during college and also maintain a full schedule, I rarely had any time to actually dedicate to go to these centers, really. I was really trying to get through my classes, do what I needed to do to excel, and it really was put on the back burner. For me, going into healthcare, I was like, I don't need to look for a job right now. I need to get through this class, this exam, to get to the midterm, to get to the final, to then enroll in the next classes. So it was kind of like that. And then on the weekends and during the week, I had to work. And also, I have to be a part of my family. I have to call my mom, call my dad, touch bases. So centers like that really, I knew they were there, but I kind of wish they were maybe a little bit more accessible online rather than going in person, something that I could have done maybe during the first weeks of class, have it opened, advertised a little bit more, because that is the time that we have most available rather than in the middle of the semester or even towards the end, because by the end of the semester, I really was just trying to go home.
Great. Well, join me in thanking these panelists. You know, to me, they are inspirational. And when I think about the future of the state of Texas or our communities or the nation, I think we're in excellent hands. So thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.